Hello and welcome to another episode of Urban Minds Plus. My name is Desmond. On today's episode, we are spotlighting one of the 50 people featured on Wine and Just New Establishment list. She's a journalist, she's a compare, she's a lawyer, and I think the question I'm going to ask first would be, what have you not done? Hi, Temi.
Hi, Desmond.
I promised I was not going to call you Temi, so I would have to repronounce that. Hi, Temi.
Yes, Temi.
Temi Oluwa.
Yes.
Popoola.
Popoola.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How excited are you about being featured on? How excited did you feel when you saw that you were featured on Wine and Just New Establishment list?
I was excited, but I was more shocked than excited because I really wasn't expecting it. So I just woke up and then I went on Instagram at some point and then I saw that Why Africa tagged me. Then I found out I was featured. So I was surprised. I was like, oh, are you serious? Really? So I was more surprised.
But why surprised? Why surprised? Because we had conversations and you said you were on radio for 5 years. Mm-hmm. That is your school radio station, and you also worked at Petals FM for a year as well, while you were the year before law school.
Yeah, the year before.
And then you've been a journalist for a bit. You host events as well. Mm-hmm. And you're a lawyer by profession.
Yes,
but then why surprised when you've been putting in the work for so long and a prestigious body like Why Africa chooses to recognize you? Why surprised?
So the thing is, you've been putting in the work, right? Mm-hmm. Like you said, I've been on radio for like 4 years with University Radio Station and a year with Petals FM. But the thing is, some recognition comes and you just were not expecting it. Mm. So, that can be surprising. I was speaking with a friend last year and then he asked me, we're at an award event and he was saying, how long, Temi, before you start, you get on this award list and start getting nominated and recognition or something. And I thought to myself, I said, oh, you know what? I'm not focusing on getting the awards. I'm not going to give myself a time for the award. I'll rather just focus on putting in the work, the good work, and then naturally that would attract, that's value. So it would attract the nominations and the award, but you keep putting it and then somebody recognizes you and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't think it was coming now.
But how does it feel to get all of those accolades? I understand that you put in the work, but then how does it really feel when they come? So a lot of the times, a lot of people expect different things. Okay. And when they finally get it, there's this emptiness. There's this need for more. Or it just doesn't feel like what you expected. Mm. Was that how you felt, or how did you feel getting this particular recognition?
I'm trying to put myself back in that moment after I felt surprised. I think I was just grateful. Mm. I didn't feel empty in that sense. I just felt, grateful. Oh, this is nice. Somebody actually, after thinking, okay, how did they get
noticed your work?
Know me, and somebody actually noticed my work. Wow, that's really nice. It was encouraging for me. So I felt like onwards and upwards.
Did that push conversations in your head for what next?
Did it push conversations in my head for what next?
Because you're like, a lot of people, you never know who's watching my work, and you do not know who had conversations about me, that's why I made it here. Who had conversations about me before I made it here. So does it affect how your future work, the works to come?
Yes, it definitely made me see that a lot of people were watching, and that was a good thing. So yes, in that sense, yes, it made me see that, okay, people are watching, be consistent, keep putting out good work. People will know.
Okay, fantastic. So let's talk about the different bits of Temi Popoola. Okay. I got it right.
Try.
Okay. I was already gloating at, oh my God, I know. But then, you're a lawyer by profession. You went to school for 5 years to study law and then law school and all of that. Mm-hmm. Have you practiced?
Active practice, no. I haven't worked in a law firm, in that sense of it. And it's funny. It's funny because, I mean, when I was in, I schooled in the University of Ibadan, I used to be one of those who used to participate in moot and mock competitions, you know, like I loved advocacy. I still love advocacy, you know, and I used to be at the forefront representing the University of Ibadan, going for competitions. I was in moot and mock, I was the head of my chambers, Elias, and all of those beautiful things. So, I mean, coming out of school and saying, you know what, I want to explore the media a bit, that got my classmates thinking, Temi, are you serious? Are you the one who is exploring the media a bit now? But, you know, it's good. It's a good journey.
I had conversations, not me, Ebuka had conversations on the live show Robin Minds. There's a show, Robin Minds, on Channels Television with Ebuka. He had conversations with two legal professionals on Sunday and about the legal system in Nigeria. And the two lawyers kept pointing on the topic of remuneration for lawyers and how a lot of people who, after 5 years, decide to move to another industry because of that. It doesn't seem, the pay for lawyers doesn't seem feasible. There are no proper structures for lawyers. Was that one of the reasons or for you?
No.
Or what are your thoughts about the structure of the legal system?
Now, I understand that the pay can be better. I understand that something should be done about it. I understand that lawyers should be, you know, it's not just calling them the law, you know, and hailing them the law, you know, pay for their services, and, you know, senior lawyers should also appreciate them, you know, not just by word of mouth, but by good remuneration for them. But for me, that wasn't the reason I decided to do media. So it wasn't the money. The money is good, but it wasn't the money, you know. So I liked media. I mean, from when I was in school, you already said I worked as a radio presenter, you know, in the university's radio station. So I got into school and I found out I had a flair. Let me take you back a little bit. So when I was in SS3, that's the point where I was going to write that jam, and I was in art class, and then I was trying to decide, what do I do? Law. There are few courses for arts, either law,
mass communication,
theater arts,
international studies.
Aha, that's even if you knew international studies at that point. So those were the few courses that I knew about. And I thought to myself, law, advocacy, I still love it, and I loved it back then. And then there was mass communication, interesting. I like it too. I like to talk. Since I was in secondary school, I used to be the speaker, you know, we had all of those things and I was part of it. So I was at that point deciding, and then I said, you know what, I'll put in law first choice, University of Ibadan, and then I'll put in mass comm, we call it TLE, communication language arts. I'll put it in as second choice. And then whichever one I get in for, fine. So I put in for law first choice, mass comm second choice, and I got in for law. So it was like that for me. That's how I got in. And then I got in and I was like, oh, I still like mass comm. I still like law too. I was active in law classes. I was active in moot and mock and things like that. But then I still had a flair for mass comm. So I decided, let me start volunteering at the radio station. All I had to convince my parents was that my grades were not going to drop. They were going to be good. So, you know, I tried to fulfill my end of that. I came out with a second class upper. It could have been a first class, but you know. So I mean, the grades were good. Law was looking like fine, and then media was also bubbling, and it seemed like I could just do them. And I naturally just started to have, I can't take out God's favor, open doors. You know, people would just invite me within the school and around in Ibadan also to come and anchor their events, and it really looked good. And it was something that I could do seamlessly. I had no knowledge, no formal knowledge, but I learned on the job. You know, I'll go to events and people who were much older would commend me for the way I spoke. Maybe a part of this probably had to do with my legal training, because most of these events were corporate events, and there's sort of like the culture of the legal profession that affects your speaking, your dressing, certain things. So some of those things were already in my mind, and then I anchored events and they just liked it. So I just thought, oh, I can do this naturally. I could do it without preparing so much. So what if I put in some more effort? What if I get trained? What if I get some more knowledge about this? How far can I push it? And then I started to explore. And I explored. I'm still exploring. So it wasn't the money. It wasn't the money. It was the passion. It's more like the passion.
Fantastic. I loved the way you answered that question. So let's talk about other things that you're interested in. So you're a journalist, and what type of journalism are you interested in? What type of stories do you want to sell with journalism?
So I'm very interested in selling stories that impact people. Now, I just said I had a stint at CNBC Africa when I did my NYSC. And CNBC Africa is known for financial journalism, which was very interesting, which was my first time delving into financial journalism, and it was good. However, I find that I'm very interested in impact stories. You know, as much as I want to inform you, I also want to plead a cause. I want to let people know what is happening with a particular industry or what's happening with people's lives or things like that. I recently, not so recently, but last year, I carried out a personal project. I called it Poverty and Education. And then I went on the street and then I found a little boy, I found other people who were going through a lot of things and they had not gone to school and they were hawking on the road. Those kind of stories, you know, stories about financial inclusion, because people cannot afford to go to the bank. They don't even have as much money to go to the bank. Or people who can go to the bank, but they can't read and write, and they have certain challenges. So stories that impact people, they really interest me. And as a journalist, you know, I'm beginning to explore other fields and learn more. But for now, I'm just particular about anything that impacts people.
Anything that impacts people. So finally, let's talk about your work on LinkedIn, because I think I'm putting it out there. I'm terrible there. Okay. But then you were recognized as one of 50 top Nigerians on LinkedIn. How did that make you feel, and how did you build your LinkedIn? Because a lot of young people, like yourself, like myself, we tend to be found like a whole lot on Instagram and Twitter. But now you are recognized for your work on LinkedIn, which is somewhat tagged typically serious. Do you think LinkedIn is serious, or how's it been? How did you grow it? And tell us about it.
If I'll be honest, I think I'm a serious person. I'm serious.
We had to put that out there.
You know why I said I think I'm a serious person?
Why?
Because I get that you are a serious person. Like things I typically think are normal or average. To be honest, people just think, oh, that's too serious. So I give you this example. Some of the things I put on LinkedIn, I put the same thing on Instagram. Twitter, not so much, because I'm trying to understand that space more, and because, you know, you have a limited number of, you know, words that you can put on that space. But I put the same thing on Instagram and sometimes the same thing on Facebook. And the reactions I get on LinkedIn, there's so many, and sometimes just so few reactions on Instagram. So maybe my people are on LinkedIn, you know, I don't know. But I actually enjoy being on LinkedIn. Like, I could just go there and just be me, you see? Just actually be me. And some of those things I talk about my work, I talk about things that people need to know, I talk about different things. And I think a lot of people like my content, and I relate with people, so I get to connect with people. So I'm just the normal person who maybe other people or other young people will say, oh, this girl's a serious girl. You know, in that sense. No, I'm not trying to sound puffed up or something, but that's feedback I get sometimes. So when I heard about being listed, being recognized as one of the top 50 influencers on LinkedIn, I was surprised.
Influencer llama.
I think they put it as top 50 personalities on LinkedIn. But in Nigeria, I was surprised because I didn't know that I was top 50. I didn't know. Then I had to go through their page and find out how they measured, what yardstick they used, and I was like, oh, okay, wow. It was, I'm trying to find the word. It was a good one. Again, I was surprised. Maybe I'm just a surprised person. I'm just usually surprised. But I think a lot of more
What's your surprise face like?
I'm usually quiet when I'm surprised. I'm like, wow. But then I think a lot of young people need to use LinkedIn more, because LinkedIn is very important.
And you promised to help me with my LinkedIn profile.
So you're putting that one on air.
No, I'm actually telling you. Because I told you about it and you promised.
Yeah.
Oh, so
we'll
you
do
did
something
not
about
mean it.
that.
You did not mean it when you said.
That's what we'll talk about this backstage. Yeah, but the thing is, I will actually be having a training very soon on that, on LinkedIn. Because I get a lot of messages, sometimes in one day, a lot. Tell me, how do I maximize my LinkedIn? How do I do this on LinkedIn? And I just said, you know what, I can't respond to everybody one-on-one because there are a lot of messages and have a day job. So I would have a training and then I'll help people out.
Fantastic. So let's round this off by asking the question about freelancing and working a 9 to 5. So you're in the media, and then there's a media firms that still do the typical 9 to 5, and you have to do your proper work. But then, and you freelance as a compare and other things that you're involved in. So how long do you think you'd be in working the 9 to 5, and which do you prefer, freelancing or 9 to 5? Because you've done both, or you're doing both.
Yes, I'm doing both because I work 9 to 5, but I don't work every day.
Ooh, look at you, fancy.
I have days when I get to anchor events, so sometimes I have to travel to anchor events, so I need that flexibility. That's very important for my work. And but if I had to compare, 9 to 5 has its own merits, and that is standard money, salary. There's something they call ogata ogauta, uwala urakbe. That's Yoruba, and it means that whether or not you sell, whether or not the boss sells, your salary, your wage will be complete, meaning that there's a dependable source of income. So every month, that there's an amount going to your bank account, every month when you do 9 to 5. Now, the thing with freelancing is, the good part of freelancing now is that you could actually make times 5, times 10 of your income in 2 weeks or in less, But it's not as fixed as a 9 to 5 job. So I think,
you might make $1 million today, and then it might be like 6 months before you make another $1 million.
But imagine if your salary was 150,000 naira, and you made $1 million today, and maybe in the next 3 months you make another $1 million. I think that's a fair deal. But then you have to just sit back and find out what works for you, because freelance is not for. To be honest, freelance is not for everybody.
So do you think you'll be merging both of them for a very long time? Do you think you'll be like the way you're doing right now?
Okay.
Doing flexible work. Okay. And merging for a very long time.
For a very long time. To be honest, I don't know. I'm just open. I'm open to what the future brings, and I'm open to my response to it. So if I get a very good deal, maybe. If I get a very good deal for freelancing, maybe too. So I'm open. I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but I'm open. I don't want to say on camera that, no, I will not do it. Then tomorrow, then I say, you are doing it. And I say, it's not like that. I do not mean it like that. Or, I say, I'll do it and the other way around, But I'm just open. That's usually how I am.
Fantastic. A question popped into my head, but then because I said finally, I'm tempted to not ask, but then I feel I should ask regardless. But it's about, you've been privileged to work for the bosses you've had. They've allowed you to have that flexible system. Yeah. And a lot of people in Lagos, because of how maybe the ban of bikes, the ban of Okada, kekes in the city, it's really difficult. It's even more stressful. Living in Lagos was stressful, but now it's even more stressful commuting around Lagos. Yeah. And how important is it for companies, firms in Lagos to make 9 to 5s more flexible?
I think it's very important, because if they do that, then we'll have less traffic to deal with, actually. Some of the times you can actually work from home. Some of the work that people need you to be in the office, you can do it from home if you get a dedicated staff who would, respond over emails, or you could have, somebody said something once. Someone was speaking and he said that if you finish up, it was actually my former boss, and that's why I usually recognize him whenever I speak, Kenneth Igbomo. And so he said something at one point when I was in CNBC Africa, and he said, if you finish up your work by a particular time, even though your closing time is supposed to be this particular time, if you've done all of the tasks, then I'll let you go home. It's okay. if you don't do it, you have to wait to finish up. That's just that mindset of flexibility. I think more bosses need to have that mindset. It's about the task, it's about the deadline. It's not about just 5 o'clock you're not leaving, then at 5 o'clock you made traffic. I don't think that's fair. If it's about output and keeping your employees or your junior staff happy and eventually getting the work done, then I think that flexibility is something we should embrace.
Fantastic. I loved how you answered all the questions I asked during this interview. And once again, congratulations for being featured on Wine and Just New Establishment list.
Thank you. Gracias.
Wishing you more recognition and awards, accolades.
Gracias, monsieur.
And see you at the top.
Thank you.
It's been a fantastic episode on Robin Minds Plus. See you on the next. My name is Desmond.